Jesus said, "If you wish to be perfect, go and sell what you own, and give the money to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come, follow me." These words from St. Matthew's Gospel became the guiding light of St. Anthony's life. In accordance with them, he gave away all his lands and possessions to the poor, provided for his younger sister, and finally gave himself over to an ascetic life.
Some historians claimed that hermits lived here, and that there were exchanges with Syria, Lebanon, and Egypt. It was an exchange of monks, a spiritual exchange. That is why there is a tradition in Egypt that speaks about St. Ephraim having visited Egypt, and here
St. Anthony is regarded as the spiritual father of all hermits, and as the first monk. Without a doubt, he's the first well-known person to have committed himself to a way of prayer and existence. On reaching Egypt, their day assert their own road to holiness, confirming him in his heroic chosen way of life.
According to word-of-mouth tradition, St. Anthony's disciples, who once lived in Egypt, later moved to living in grottos, to be found near the monastery entrance. This grotto, together with the one presently converted as a place of worship, monastery
était l'origine de son monastère.
From a cave and from an abandoned town infested with venomous snakes. Infamous and well known are the later temptations Anthony had to endure in the desert. Beautiful women appearing as temptresses in various sensual guises, unclean spirits in the form of wild beasts, or people tempting him by auguring great dangers ahead, dancing in a delirious state, encouraging evil deeds. He endured many such attacks, but every vision conjured up by Satan was repelled by Anthony's fervid prayer and penitential acts. Anthony's biographer, St. Athanasius, very succinctly described Anthony's role in establishing the foundation of Christian monastic life. He engulfed the desert with his holiness and populated it with his followers.
The hermits who once lived here would primarily seek to flee the company of others, the noise and urban turmoil, in their search for peace, contemplation, and God. In times of persecution, people would follow hermits in their search for seclusion.
Hermits would retreat to a secluded place from whence they would fight to restore a world order that had gone. They propounded that to change the world, one had to begin by changing oneself. That principle applied by eremites in their spiritual development attracted the attention of their contemporaries. People from the great cities, notables both temporal and spiritual, sought guidance on how to live and best carry out their obligations, convinced that precisely those people attached to the desert, detached from the world, would have a clear understanding and a more focused view of life. Hermits continue to live under clearly defined principles.
Oriental principles of the hermitage prescribe that hermits can, in fact, only leave their hermitage if empowered to do so by the head of the monastery. A hermit has the right to 5 hours sleep. He has the right to just one meal every 24 hours. And he has a duty and contemplation. In between, he can receive lay people seeking help to solve problems, to attend confession, or hear Holy Mass. These the only conditions under which hermits can meet people.
Located in northern Lebanon's beautiful Qadisha Valley, St. Anthony's Monastery is truly a national shrine, that attracts numerous pilgrimages. It is also a very attractive location that begs a detour on the foreign tourist trail. There is no mention in the history books that St. Anthony ever actually visited the Qadisha Valley, yet word-of-mouth tradition speaks about a visit that he made to his disciples while on a tour of the Holy Land. It is then that miracles and healings supposedly took place in the valley, confirming the hypothesis that St. Anthony did indeed come to the valley. St. Anthony is, amongst others, the patron saint of people struggling with great temptations or suffering psychic disorders. There is an altar in the cave with chains to which the ill and suffering were attached, whilst in the monastery nearby monks prayed for the grace of healing. The history of the monastery is the history of Christians both in the Lebanon and the Middle East. In 1998, the monastery and St. Anthony's Grotto were designated a World Heritage Site by UNESCO.
Dans ces grottes, il y avait beaucoup de fresques.
This grotto has many frescoes. This was not art for art's sake. I mean art just for art, but rather art that served to better contemplate God. During the long period of persecutions and sometimes wretched behavior, we removed the paintings to renovate them, as well as to restore the grotto and hermitage.
Ces grottes ou bien ces ermitages.
The first hermits, St. Anthony and St. Paul of Thebes, had many followers. Historians estimate that in the 4th century, 3 hermitages located in the vicinity of Nitra in the Syrian desert alone numbered over 600 monks, with 200 others living a solitary existence in isolated hermits' retreats. For them, eremitism, born of Christianity, was the road to perfection and to an ever-deepening relationship with God. It was what, amongst others, bound them to the Israelites wandering in the desert after their exodus from Egypt, to John the Baptist, but above all to the fasting and tempted Christ.
Join us tomorrow as EWTN Gallery presents